Today I will be presenting on how to properly clean an English saddle. The English saddle has been around for many decades. It eventually came from what is known as the dressage saddle, but it was too restrictive in its movement for both rider and horse when the horses began to go into the sports of fox hunting, show jumping, and eventing. With these kind of sports, the horses need more mobility for their shoulders, and the rider needed more mobility moving in their seat as they were going over the different jumps. The different types of English saddles that you have all have the common theme in mind of better mobility for both rider and horse. The most common features of the saddle that you need to be prepared to know when properly cleaning the saddle are going to be the pommel, which is the front of the saddle, the seat, which is where the rider's seat bones sit when they're on the horse, and then the cantle, which is the back of the saddle. Another key feature here to be aware of is the flaps, which is where the rider's leg and knee sit when on the horse. As you can see, there's one on both sides because every rider has two knees. Okay, so the things that you need when properly cleaning a saddle are a dry cloth, saddle soap, at least 2 sponges. I always recommend having an extra one because you never know how dirty your saddle's going to be. And then conditioner for your very last step. So here are the steps to properly clean a saddle. So when you begin cleaning your saddle, you will take one of the sponges and you'll get it nice and wet in a nice bowl of water. Wring it out so it's damp but not soaking. You want to make sure that your leather does not get soaked because otherwise it will never dry and you will ruin the leather. So once it's nice and damp, you will take the saddle soap, get a good helping of it on your sponge, and you will start with small circular motions starting at the pommel, slowly working your way back to the cantle. Once the seat of the saddle is done, you will slowly start working your way, again using small circular motions, down the flap, making to cover all the areas and under the skirt here. You will then lift up the flap here so that you can get the billet straps and the girth. Once both sides are done, because you will do both the left side and the right side of the saddle, you will pick it up by the cantle, lifting it up onto the pommel, and then you will clean the panels, which is the underside of the saddle, which is most in contact with the horse's back. This is a really key part of the saddle to make sure that you get clean, because as the horse is working, it produces a lot of sweat, and that's where the most sweat is going to accumulate on your saddle. If you leave the sweat and you don't clean it or condition it, that will eventually turn to mildew and it will end up modifying your saddle so that the fit no longer fits the horse correctly, thus causing pressure points, pinches, and other sorts of injuries to your horse's back. Once you are done with the soap, you will take a clean, dry cloth, and again use the small circular motions starting at the pommel, on your way back to the cantle. Once the seat is done, you will again go from the flaps on each side and then to the panels on the underneath of the saddle. Once the saddle has been buffed, you will take another sponge and get a good helping of this handy dandy conditioner. This helps keep your leather pliable and moist so that the mildew doesn't grow, and as your saddle is being used and over the years, the saddle doesn't crack and dry out. This can also cause issues for you because saddles are one of the most expensive pieces of equipment that you will have for your horses. Some saddles can range from $100 or from $1,000 up to anywhere to $10,000 to $15,000. So you want to make sure that this equipment that you have is well taken care of. Once the conditioner has been applied in the same motion as the soap with small circular motions from top to bottom, you will let it air dry for about 10 to 15 minutes before you put it away. This is what the finished product will look like. As you can see, these saddles are very well polished and there is nothing but cleanliness on them. So that is about all I have for you. Do you guys have any questions on how to properly clean an English saddle?
So how long does it take to clean your saddle?
When you first start out, it takes you a little bit longer, so I would say at least plan half an hour. Once you've been riding for a little bit, like I rode for 7 years, by the time the 7 years rolled around, I could clean my saddle in 15 minutes.
Okay, I have another question. How often do you have to clean your saddle?
You will clean your saddle after every ride.
Oh.
That is the recommended thing. Because every time you ride your horse, the sweat's going to accumulate onto the panels of your saddle, and you want to make sure that you don't get mildew, which will damage the saddle and the leather.
Okay. And do you have to wait for it to like dry or anything after you clean it?
Yes, so you'll wait after the conditioner about 15 minutes before you put the saddle cover back on and put it up for the night.
Oh, okay. So you have to like put it up for like a day before you use it again, right?
No, so you usually clean your saddles at night, and then the next day you can go ahead and grab it off the shelf when you're ready to ride. Yeah.
Are all saddles leather, or are there like different
No.
material?
There's different materials. My saddle here is full calfskin leather. You can also have buffalo hide. Now more people are going into synthetic type fibers, which are a lot easier to clean, but they're not going to be as pliable and flexible for the horse. So it really just depends.
So would you say the different types of leather differentiates like the price range of the saddle?
Yes, for sure. So your calfskin leather is going to be a little bit more expensive. Saddles of these models generally range from about $5,000 to $6,500. Yes.
Out of which type of leather for your saddle do you prefer the most?
I prefer calfskin because just as a rider myself, I found that I feel like I stick a little bit better in my saddle. So what that means is my saddle just holds me a little bit better whenever I'm riding. I don't feel like I'm slipping anywhere.
Another question.
Yeah.
Which type of leather do you think is most comfortable for you and the horse?
That one's hard to say. It's very rider dependent. So what I like is going to be different from another rider, and what that horse likes is also going to be different. So every horse has a different size of saddle. So your saddle is going to be adjusted not only for the rider's seat, but for the shoulders of the horse as well.
Okay, so it's just a preference.
It's just a preference, correct.
How often do people change their saddles?
Generally, once you get a saddle, you're going to get your saddle for your specific horse, and that saddle is going to stay with that horse for the rest of their career.